Hey, what's up everyone? Monado Max here, and today we are back with another interesting video. Now, we are doing another one of those videos where I asked you guys your opinion on what the Nintendo Switch is to you. Things that you didn't like about the Switch, what you would want to do better, just what do you not like about your Nintendo Switch? Because there's some things that I want to comment on the Nintendo Switch that I don't like, but I think it would be interesting to get other people's input on this. Because a lot of my issues are going to be talked about with these tweets. A lot of these tweets are things that I haven't really thought of. And yeah, I'm really excited to do this video because there's some things that I really don't like about my Nintendo Switch. And I still love the Switch to death. It is one of my favorite, if not the favorite Nintendo console that I own. Or just in general, my favorite console. I mean, I own 300 plus games. So I don't own a single system that I have 100 plus games for. Only the Switch is like that. My PS4 is getting close to being over 100 games, but it's under 75 still. So let's get right into this exciting video. All right, the first tweet is something that I was gonna bring up, but I don't even have to. My good friend Skrillerwolf already brings it up. She says no Netflix. Now, I know a lot of people are going to point out to me, Max, this is a gaming console. You don't need media on the gaming console. You have a phone. It's like the Activision Blizzard thing when Diablo Immortal. Come on, guys. You guys have phones, right? I don't know if Coleman's going to show that clip. But
Max, you've made this joke 3 times already in the past 2 months. It's not funny anymore!
It's probably one of those moments of you have phones, why do you need Netflix in Amazon Prime, all that stuff on your Switch? Well, it's one of those things that all Nintendo consoles that have had access to the internet has had Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, all that good stuff. And then you go over to the Switch, for some reason the Nintendo Switch is getting all of this stuff way later. Like, for example, YouTube was not on the Switch till a little over 1 year later on the Switch. And then same thing with Hulu. Hulu Plus is on Nintendo Switch, but it came out like 2 years later. I think it was a little over a year. And then same thing with Twitch. I think Twitch was a recent thing that got added to the Switch. That was a really late addition. But that's all we have for when it comes to the media for the Switch. And me personally, I would really like to have some of these things on the Switch because I used to go around bringing my Switch to parties and stuff. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, like, why do you need Netflix if you got games and stuff like that? But when it's nighttime and we're all, done gaming, a lot of us like to watch stuff. And not everyone, when you're in this scenario that I'm in, where you're bringing a Switch to the party and all you have is the Switch.
But Max, you can't go to parties. You don't have any friends.
You don't have access to putting Netflix on the TVs because, it's just maybe no one has Netflix. They don't want to put their account in on somebody's TV. It's just so convenient to have it all on the Switch. And I don't understand why it's not on the Switch. I don't know if it's one of those things that Nintendo, and let's just use Netflix as an example, they couldn't come to an agreement to having Netflix on the Switch. Because a lot of these streaming services get their service taken off certain things like Roku, for example, because they can't get an agreement of, earnings, because I guess Nintendo would be making some earnings off of a Netflix subscription. I don't know how all that works, but they would somehow make some sort of money off of Netflix, and I guess it just wasn't beneficial. They couldn't come to an agreement, and that's why we still don't have Netflix on the Switch. It's just one of those things that's so weird that you don't have day one on the Switch and still don't have day one on the Switch. I really don't like that, and I would like to have Netflix on the Switch. So please, can we have Netflix on the Switch at some point, or at least the next Nintendo console? Can we get it on day one? I mean, the PS5 and Xbox Series X got all that stuff day one. I really don't know. Like, I want the Zone on the Switch. Why can't I get the Zone on the Switch? That's a story for another. I agree with Skrillerwolf on here. That's one of the things I really don't like about my Nintendo Switch. Itachi Cosplay says, cloud games don't necessarily need to be cloud games. Almost as if companies are afraid to commit to a 120 plus million install base. Kingdom Hearts. Honorable mentions, amount of late third-party releases, Persona 5 Royal, 13 Sentinels. Okay, I agree with a lot of this. Itachi talks about cloud games. We've had some cloud games on the Nintendo Switch that many will feel that didn't need to be cloud games, and I agree. Kingdom Hearts. We've had a lot of developers come out and say why Kingdom Hearts didn't get a native port on the Nintendo Switch is because it would cost too much development time for something that could not make much more money to Square Enix. Because apparently Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 took forever to get ported because it was like a PlayStation 3 thing. Like bringing PlayStation 3 games over to other consoles is stupid, like very stupid difficult, basically. Extremely difficult. It's one of those things that Square Enix basically took the easy way out, which was making Kingdom Hearts a cloud game. And I think it's one of those things that is very stupid because I'll never forget when Kingdom Hearts came out on the Nintendo Switch via the cloud, and I don't know if we have any screenshots of this. That game hit bestseller on the eShop. I think it was almost #1 if I remember. So the interest of Kingdom Hearts, even though it was such a controversial release on the Nintendo Switch, the fact that it did as well as it did on the eShop is incredible for being a cloud game. And I think Square Enix took a big L here because these games, it might have taken a very long time to get on the Switch, but it would have been very profitable and probably way more profitable than the cloud service games, because I know a lot of people that didn't buy it because it was cloud games. I guess I can somewhat understand Kingdom Hearts 3 if you didn't want to put that time into it, because this is a lot of separate projects here. But I think 1.5 and 2.5, they should have at least put 1 to 2 years, however long it would have, to make that port happen. You know, Square Enix can reach out to these other developers. I know they like to do a lot of in-house stuff, but with the Switch specifically, people gotta hire developers that know the Switch to make third-party ports, like Panic Button, for example, and all that good stuff. I think this was an L thing from Square Enix, L move. And then the late third-party things, I agree. I understand why we had late third-party replacements about 3 years into the Switch, because a lot of these companies didn't think the Switch was going to be successful. Like, for example, EA really did not think the Switch was going to be successful. That's why they were such a late addition to start adding stuff to the Switch. But I know the Switch, it's a weak console and it takes longer to develop for the Switch, so I get the late replacements. But I think we're gonna start seeing, well, I don't know, I said that last year in games were getting delayed. We got a better release schedule this year from third-party games where they were starting to release at the same time as the other platforms, like Final Fantasy Crisis Core that came out at the same time, and like Hogwarts Legacy was very close to coming out at the same time as the other consoles. It just didn't happen. But I agree with a lot of just what Itachi just said. Crippling Crimson says the Joy-Con drift. Now, Joy-Con drift is a very weird thing from Nintendo. You know, for how expensive these controllers are, which, by the way, the Joy-Cons are the most expensive controller on the market when it comes to just regular controllers. I'm not talking about your elite controllers where they're like over 200 bucks. Just a standard controller, Nintendo has the most expensive stuff. So for the amount of money that you're paying with those Joy-Cons, the sticks should be better, but they're not working. I don't know how it causes Joy-Con drift, and it's unfortunate because it's happening to everyone. And it sucks because I'm looking at some of my controllers, I'm like, these limited edition controllers, they're awesome, and then they're eventually gonna get Joy-Con drift, and I can't fix it. Like, you can get it fixed, but then it eventually comes back. So it's like, terrible move from Nintendo. So Keezus makes a very good point on his tweet. He talks about how it's really upsetting how with the Nintendo Switch, you can only have one island per Switch at Animal Crossing New Horizons. I actually didn't know that you needed only one island, but after seeing that tweet, I do remember people complaining about that. And he also talks about cloud saves being really annoying with the Pokemon games, which this is going to go into another topic. I know the cloud saves are very difficult for certain games. Like, I think Splatoon 2 is one of the games that doesn't have cloud saves for some reason. I think Splatoon 3 probably is the same way, if 2 is the same way. With the Pokemon games, like, I don't care who is making these games. If a first-party Nintendo game doesn't have cloud saves, there's a problem here, because this is something Nintendo themselves are promoting. They should have cloud saves on their system, and they don't. So that is ridiculous, and I fully agree with Keezus here. Because that's a very common thing with, like, there's some third-party games that don't have cloud saves, but I feel like there's a decent amount of Nintendo games that don't have cloud saves, and that's just ridiculous. So Keezus, Very good point. Nintendo Gamer Gal says native voice chat not used on the system. Oh, okay, so they're talking about the Nintendo Switch online app. If you didn't know, the Nintendo Switch does have voice chat, but it's very ridiculous how you get access to the voice chat. You have to download this like Nintendo Switch online app on your phone to voice chat with your friends on the Nintendo Switch. It's not even on the Nintendo Switch. Like, you connect your Nintendo profile, and then your phone knows when you're playing a Nintendo game, and then you all just join in this little room on the app. And I don't know if this is still a thing, but they made it before when this app first launched that you had to keep your phone screen on for the app to work. So I don't know if they fixed that, but everyone's phones were dying so fast. It was like the #1 complaint with that app was you can't turn off your phone screen. It just was so bad. It was so awful. And then they came up with the whole terrible headset. Coleman's gonna show the picture of the headset to connect your Switch and the phone. It was the Splatoon headset, which, funny enough, I hope to one day own it because that's apparently one of the most expensive Switch accessories now. So that's kind of crazy. But yeah, that's horrible. It's horrible. Nintendo Switch should have some sort of online chat in the Switch itself without having another app. Ridiculous. Alex talks about how the game library is too small, storage is too small, the thing is way too easy to break. I slapped an SD card into it and it just doesn't work for some reason. Plus my Joy-Cons are screwed. Okay, we talked about that. Most of the gimmicks are underutilized. That is something that I have a major problem with my Switch. Like the extra crap and the Joy-Cons. We did a whole video on that. He also talks about the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack is cringe. The Switch seems to get content and games a lot later. While the portability is cool, I never really go anywhere. Not exactly. Okay. So Alex has a lot to say. Alex gave us like 6 tweets here to go over. So let's go over the first tweet first. Alex talks about the game library being too small. I disagree with that. I think the Switch, maybe you're just not looking for there's a certain type of games that you're looking for, and the Switch doesn't provide what you're wanting. I heavily disagree that the library is too small because the first part, let's just look at it from a first party lineup. The Switch is probably one of their strongest lineups in Nintendo console history when it comes to their mainline games, or consoles. I mean, the 3DS had a very strong first party lineup too, but the Switch has a lot of things. Smash Bros, a lot of Pokemon games, crap Pokemon games, of course. You got Mario Odyssey, you got Breath of the Wild, you're getting Tears of the Kingdom, you got Metroid Prime 4 coming, you got, that's just off the top of my head. I mean, you got a lot of the Wii U ports. I know a lot of people don't like ports, but a lot of people didn't get to experience those Wii U games, so we're gonna use that as an example. You got Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3. You got so much here. You got Ring Fit Adventure. That's a unique experience if you're into that type of stuff. Heavily disagree with the small library part. Maybe Alex means from a third-party perspective. I can kind of see that, I don't know, we'll see. Storage is too small. Yes, this is very true. So the storage is way too small, but I also think some of these third-party games, and sometimes first-party games are kind of struggling with this also. They take up too much storage. I'm having some games, like I think Splatoon 3, I bought physically. I think I saw it took like 5 gigabytes on my Switch. Why is that taking up so much storage? Nintendo, I thought, are supposed to know how to compress the game correctly into a cartridge. And then you got some third-party games that I don't even own, like the NBA games, that you already have to own a micro SD card to play it. You can't do it with the regular Switch storage. So I agree with you, Alex, on that. That is a very good point. That's ridiculous. Very ridiculous. Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack is cringe. That's a debatable topic. I understand why people don't like it, and I understand why people do like it. It's one of those things. I did a whole video on it. I'm not going to go into detail because this video is already going to be really long, but I can understand your complaints. Alright, this is coming from, I think the way to pronounce his name is Lumi. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Alright, Lumi talks about that all of the exclusives for the Nintendo Switch are all overpriced and shows an image of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe being $60. This should not be worth $60 is what Lumi's talking about. And, you know, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that person's name wrong. I agree that Nintendo's games don't go on sale at all. And when they do go on sale, it's like $10 off, $20 off. The max that you'll see a Nintendo Switch game get is $20 off. And the only reason why Nintendo gets away with this, I always say this, and for some reason, this always comes back on me. For some reason, I'm a horrible person for saying this, but I'm gonna say it. The only reason why these games are $60 and are always $60 is the fans' fault. The Nintendo fan community is the worst community ever when it comes to backlash. They don't know how to backlash. They use Twitter. They're like, I'm not buying that game for $60. Skyward Sword HD is a great example of this. Not buying it. A lot of those people bought it day one. Anytime Nintendo fans try to boycott a release or say it's not worth $60, the sell numbers are absolutely insane. PlayStation and Xbox never gets away with this. They try to attempt this. Those fans over there, they know how to boycott. They know how to vote with your wallet. And Nintendo fans, and I know there's some of you guys that do actually vote with your wallet when it comes to Nintendo, but a good majority of Nintendo fans don't. And that's the reason why Nintendo gets away with pricing games for $60 when games shouldn't be $60. Nintendo fans don't know how to vote with their wallet, and anytime that stuff is controversial, it sells like crazy. Every Nintendo game sells like crazy at $60. So that's why those things are that high, and that's why Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, like, for some reason that is the best selling Switch game. I don't understand how, but it still is. That's why it's not on sale, because people keep buying it. They see a Switch, buy it. Their first console game is going to be either Breath of the Wild, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, or Mario Kart, you know? So, Luxray Master talks about the Nintendo Switch Online is still unacceptable, and the lack of no themes or ways to personalize your Switch. Very much agree with the no themes. I even did a YouTube short talking about how there's a feature implemented in the settings that says themes, and there's only 2 themes, and there is so much space to use themes on the Switch. And I'm going to use this tweet to talk about one of my complaints with the Switch is the UI system. The Wii U has one of, if not the best UI system I have ever seen in a console. And going from the Wii U to the Switch, I would have thought Switch was going to improve on that or have something very similar. The Switch does not. The Switch's UI is so bad. There's no music. There was originally no folders. We just got folders last year. A system that's been out for 5 years later gets folders. There were so many things that the Switch didn't have when it comes to customization that should have been there and still isn't there. And themes is a great one. Themes would be perfect because of how those settings are. You can make a Xenoblade theme, a Mario theme, Zelda theme, Splatoon theme, all that good stuff. But Nintendo doesn't, and I don't know why, because that would sell like crazy, because a lot of people want that. It is a shame. I recently bought it again, but I bought Super Mario 3D All-Stars on the day of the release. My original Switch broke soon, so after I decided I was going to return it, I have gotten a new Switch then. I've had the urge to play Super Mario Sunshine, but I had to pay $20 extra. Oh, okay, so this person's complaint is limited releases such as Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Because if you guys don't know, that game is slowly building some value. It's gone from $60 to $80, so a lot of people had to spend more money, and now people are starting to buy the game. So I'm kind of surprised that's already becoming valuable. But yeah, I agree. That was terrible of being a limited release. That shouldn't have been a limited release, and I get why they do it, but there's no way of defending that in my eyes. I think that should have been a permanent release, and Nintendo did it for some other releases like Shadow of the Light Blade or something, whatever that one was called. Coleman has a picture of it. That shouldn't have been a limited release. There was a lot of things that shouldn't have been limited releases, but Nintendo did it anyway. It's just, I agree. The limited releases need to stop, and it seems like they are done with that since we haven't gotten one in a long time. Knock on wood. The extra crap they put in their controllers, nobody's using the camera thing that's under their right Joy-Con. They're also not using HD Rumble. Also hate the form of the Switch. It's so uncomfortable to hold on handheld without a grip. Well, Coleman, you editing this video, I have the perfect solution for you. Let me interest you into this. Satisfy Grip. See, the Satisfy Grip is the perfect Nintendo Switch accessory that has it where you can put your Nintendo Switch right here with people like you that feel very uncomfortable holding the Switch, and putting it in there allows you to hold it and feel just an amazing comfort. I have the awesome beat 'em ups one that you can't get anymore, but there's some amazing colors out there on the Satisfy Grip website that you should definitely take a look at, Coleman.
Unfortunately, Max has the wrong opinion, as it nearly broke my Switch because whenever I put it on, my Joy-Cons kept sliding off without me pressing the button that is stationed on the upper side of each con. Not to mention, it is quite a tight fit.
Because when I bought this, man, the comfortness of my Nintendo Switch went up so high. This was the most important Nintendo Switch accessory I have ever owned. And it's also the coolest one because it's a beat 'em ups one. Oh my god. I deserve that. I definitely deserve that. On a real note, I'm not actually sponsored by Satisfy Grip, and I know I'm probably never going to be since I already just did an amazing sponsorship for them with that commercial I just did. But Coleman makes a very great point with the Joy-Cons that we sort of talked about earlier. There is a lot of extra stuff in the Joy-Cons that are not utilized, and for being such an expensive controller, these features need to be utilized if you're going to charge $80 for a controller. It's ridiculous that the Switch controller has as much technology as it does and it's not utilized. Because the Joy-Cons have a lot of technology, and if it was utilized, it would be really cool. Like HD Rumble, that is a very cool feature when it gets utilized. The camera feature, don't know many games that used it other than 1-2 Switch, and then the night vision game that we did a video on, which you guys haven't seen, that was a cool video. It's one of those things that I don't know. I agree with Coleman a lot on this though. Toasty basically said a lot of the same stuff that we brought up, but also brings up something that we haven't talked about, is the lack of Miis in video games. You know, the Miis were probably one of the most iconic brands of Nintendo back in the Wii era. I remember a lot of people talking about making their own Mii, and having that being brought over to the Wii U and 3DS era, we saw Miis being there for the era. And then we saw Miis brought into the Switch in some form, but they aren't really utilized that much. I do think it's a missed opportunity that we don't see the Miis used more, because it's just such a Nintendo thing that just since it was perfect, you can make your own avatar, and it's got that Nintendo theme. I agree, it's disappointing that we haven't seen them used much, but maybe we'll see the Miis used more in the next Nintendo console. Maybe we don't see the Miis used much because the UI system of the Nintendo Switch is just so garbage that there's no space for it. But it brings up, you know, another discussion is why don't we see this in other games? We don't have the Miis in the games like we used to, because in the Wii U and 3DS days, you would have Mii support in like every game, it felt like. So, I don't know, I agree with you, Toasty. Good point. Strawberry basically says the exact same thing. Joy-Con drift, very annoying. I agree, Strawberry. Again, it's ridiculous because you're paying $80 for a controller. And Jay Matthews says, no browser and not enough media apps. We talked about the media apps, but we haven't talked about a browser. Yes, I think a browser would be really cool on the Nintendo Switch, but something I'm noticing with these newer consoles is they've gotten rid of the browser feature. And I think the reason why they actually got rid of the browser feature is because the browser feature is what's getting these systems easily jailbroken and modded. So that is probably why that was removed. It would be cool to have that back though. I remember that being such a cool thing on my Wii, being able to access the internet and 3DS. I remember trying to play online games on there, but it just wouldn't work. It would not work. I think it's a huge disappointment not to have that there. But at the same time, I don't think many people really did use it, so that's another reason why they really didn't take the time to find a way around that. But I mean, browsers were already on these systems. These systems would have already been jailbroken, modded within 24 hours, because these people always find a way, and it's always because of the web browser app. Luke says, my mom keeps taking mine away. Well, Luke, I guess you like your Switch, but I guess your mom keeps taking it away, so sucks. That really does suck. But thanks for letting us know why you don't like your Nintendo Switch and some of the problems you just don't like with the Nintendo Switch. Alright, our last tweet, guys, comes from Nike. How dull the presentation and content is. Previous consoles had so much character, the 3DS with its splash screens, the Wii U Mii menu to see what your friends are doing, and very much agree with that. The themes on 3DS, the heavy-hitting virtual console. Also, there's realistically no reason for someone who has a PC or other consoles to get a multi-platform game on the Switch other than portability, which is not a really good selling point since most people play console games on their TV. Only the exclusives are worth it to me. And I mean, each console's presentation and content speak for itself. The Switch feels like it was something to prove something even 6 years into its lifespan, while the 3DS has more of a confident appearance. Finally, along with most people's preference to play console games on the couch, even when you do your Switch, you're always playing a muddled or a muddied version of said game. Graphics aren't everything. It's the reason why I'm still a Nintendo fan. But dang, this console is underpowered. I was surprised I didn't see more tweets like this about the system being underpowered. Nike made a lot of great points, that a lot of what we've already talked about today. But one thing that we haven't talked about is the Switch is underpowered. Every time Nintendo comes out with a console, and I don't know if this is the reason why Nintendo's always struggling with the whole power scheme, they're always releasing their consoles about 2 to 3 years after the other consoles come out. So, like for example, the Switch. It came out 3 years later after PS4 and Xbox One. Well, that system was rushed out. The Switch was rushed out because the Wii U did not do well. They had to release a new system faster than expected. I don't know if they just rushed so bad, because from my understanding, and I might be wrong, this is what somebody told me that has worked on video games, is that the Switch is not much more powerful than the Wii U. The Switch is more powerful than the Wii U, but it's not a major difference. And I think Nintendo always focuses on, I don't know how to explain this. I think they put out their system so late in the cycle that they don't have time to compete or have an advantage to get more powerful technology, or just care enough. Like when the next Nintendo console comes out, it's probably going to be more powerful than the PS4 and Xbox One. And they started developing that whole chip and everything into the next Nintendo console right after the Switch. So I think development cycles is what has made Nintendo's consoles always underpowered, because this has happened with every Nintendo console. I think the one time Nintendo had an advantage over a gaming company was the Wii U at one point, because the Wii U came out in 2012. But the problem with the Wii U is it was only the most powerful console at the time for like a few months, because the other consoles didn't come out yet, PS4 or Xbox One. So I think the reason why Nintendo's always underpowered is because their cycle, typically these systems are coming out 2 to 3 years later after their rivals. Does that make sense? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. But yeah, it sucks because, you know, you're playing a less powerful version of a game. Like, you know, No Man's Sky is something I'm going to bring up. I love playing that on my Switch, but a lot of people talk about how, at least when I'm showing it off on stream, that it doesn't look as great as the other platforms. It's one of those things that it's just, I don't know. I get it. It's a very fair complaint, and I'm interested to see how the next Nintendo console is going to handle power. Well, guys, I want to know what you guys think. A lot of this I agree with. This is a lot of my problems with the Nintendo Switch. My big problem is its UI. I hate the UI of the Nintendo Switch. That is my least favorite thing about my Nintendo Switch. I love it to death though, and there's a lot of things that I hate, like there's no media apps on there, and if there is, it's like 2 apps, and yeah, there's a lot of problems with the Switch, but it's still an amazing console in my opinion. I have been talking for way too much. I want to know what you guys hate about your Nintendo Switch in the comments down below. Make sure to backslash that subscribe button, like the video, check out my Twitter, check out the Discord, check out the Instagram, check out the Twitch, and check out all that good stuff. And by the way, the Twitch streams, the Ring Fit streams are about to come back. I had to take a 2-week break, but Monday, well actually, this video is going to come out after that first stream. But the streams are back for the Ring Fit, at least if you guys were interested in that. I had to take a break because I injured my knee, but we're back. The grind don't stop. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Oh my gosh, I almost fell. Peace. Have a good one, guys. Bye.